phenomenon of everybody saying they're the problem. It's because they're scientifically illiterate. It's because they're biased. It's because they're irrational. And that those accusations fly in both directions, in all directions, right? Like basically, whatever position you have, your team is saying that about the other team, and they're saying it about you. Okay, so what I want to bring you today is coming from an area of research in social psychology called cultural cognition research. And so here is a kind of simple statement of the theory. So cultural cognition theory says, in a nutshell, in my words, to sum it up, people tend to reject messages that threaten their core beliefs about how society should be organized. People tend to reject messages, information, that threaten their core beliefs about how society should be organized. And this research is showing that it's people who do this, not them, but all of us. So this is research that comes from the Yale Law School. It's a group of researchers working under the name the Cultural Cognition Project. One of the lead researchers is Dan Kahan. And I put his name and his face up here because he's kind of the messenger for this. And this area of research is kind of, first of all, you should know it's not a flash in the pan. It's built on 30 years of collective evidence in social psychology and anthropology. And also that it's a major research project. So we're not talking about a study. We're talking about a major research group. With they're getting a lot of attention. They're flying him all over the country, and he and his researchers are advising governments and policymakers in Florida, for example, one of the most politically polarized states when it comes to climate change. And there's a reason, and the reason is kind of what I want to share with you tonight. So what I have in mind is this. I want to take a few more minutes, maybe like 10, to lay out the basic idea that I think is most useful and most ready to use. Like we can use it tonight here as a tool. And so I'll talk for about 10 minutes, and then I will ask us to kind of roll up our sleeves and use that idea and try to apply it to our own lives, and to do that in small groups. Okay, so let me say a little bit more. So cultural cognition researchers are looking at the way that climate change is one of several issues, actually, that are highly, highly polarized. Right, so there's plenty of issues where we don't disagree as a society, but there's a set of issues like climate change, first of all, but gun control is another that they have amassed data on. Abortion, nanotechnology, HPV vaccinations for young women, and even the safety of underground nuclear storage. These are all highly polarized issues that they are actively doing research on. And the question is whether these issues are risky to society or not, whether or not they pose societal risk. And what the research shows is that when it comes to each one of these, the answer is yes, and the answer is no at the same time. So you've got one American society screaming yes and no about each one of these issues, highly, highly polarized. And that's the scenario that I was, that's the analogy that I was making at the beginning. Right? When it comes to major societal risks, you don't want polarization. You need rational discourse. You need some process by which a society can assess risks accurately and protect itself, and not waste time on things that are not risky. Okay, so what's behind this, and why are Americans so polarized over issues of societal risk? So here it is in a nutshell. This is the punchline. These researchers are saying that the problem is that we are basically all doing some version of pointing the finger. We're all doing some version of saying, what's wrong with them? Why don't they get it? And what we should be saying is, they have a different worldview. And that's why they see risk differently. So let me say that again. So in a nutshell, the problem is that we're all doing some version of pointing the finger and saying, what's wrong with them? Why don't they get it? Whereas we should be saying, they have a different worldview. They have a different vision for how society should be organized. And it's that vision that influences what they do and do not see as risky. Okay, so let me unpack that a little bit more. So what I'm saying is that there are starkly opposed worldviews at work in American society. And this is research that really is about the US. Right? They're not claiming to make broader observations about other countries, but what they're saying is that their evidence strongly suggests, and we're talking about many very, very solidly constructed studies that are repeated and repeated and repeated and get really striking results. And what's so striking is that there are, you can actually see systematic differences in how Americans envision the good, what philosophers would call the good. The sort of, in the broadest sense, how we view the sort of proper organization of society, and that it's these worldviews that are leading people to hold such polarized views. So now we're getting closer to the point where I want to ask you guys to work on this. So these researchers have put together a grid to describe these worldviews, and you've got this in your handout. So I'm going to show you graphs, and I want you also to be able to look at them and hold them while we discuss and explain them. So American worldviews differ along two important axes. So the first axis that I want to talk about is this one. So the question is, what is your vision of how society should be organized? Do you believe that society should have more command and control? Or do you believe that society should be organized along egalitarian lines? Where along this axis do you fall? That's the first axis. And the second axis is, do you believe that individuals are responsible for their own well-being? Or do you believe that society is responsible for the well-being of its members? Do you see the sort of, and each one of these is a continuum, right? So you can be an extreme individualist, or you can be an extreme communitarian, and you can be extremely hierarchical or extremely egalitarian, and you can be anywhere in between. Okay, so keeping that in mind, right, that each axis is a continuum, I want to invite you to work with this grid. So first step is, I invite you to take a minute to think about where you are on the grid. And the way I propose doing it is, if you have a pencil, right, so if you have a pencil, so you maybe start with this axis and think, and I've given you some bullet points, right, so you can get a little bit more to flesh out each axis. But so, where do I fall along this line? And if you think, well, I think I fall here, okay, and put your finger there, and then ask yourself, where do I fall along this axis, right? And if you fall here, well then, this is where you're ultimately going to put your dot. So, step one is to put a dot where you think you are. And go ahead and use these bullet points. That'll make it a little bit easier to understand. And I'll take any questions you have. But I'll give you a few minutes to work it out. Questions? Just questions for clarification? Yes, I see people still working. Let's get a quick show of hands if you're done. Okay, good. So now, why don't you take a moment in groups of 4. Just form groups of 3 or 4, swivel your chairs, and take a moment to go around the groups and share with each other where you landed and why.
Sí, no voy a...